In the vast and powerful Roman Empire, a warrior named Maximus Decimus Meridius stood as Rome's greatest general. A man of honor, loyalty, and unmatched skill in battle, he led the empire's legions to countless victories. Under his command, Rome had secured dominance, and he had earned the trust of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a wise ruler who saw in Maximus a protector of Rome's future. But Maximus was not a man of ambition. All he desired was to return home to his wife and son, to live a peaceful life away from the bloodshed of war. However, fate had other plans. As the empire expanded, so did the corruption within its walls. Marcus Aurelius, knowing his time was short, saw the decay within his own bloodline. His son, Commodus, was desperate for power, an arrogant and unworthy heir who lacked the wisdom to rule. Understanding that Rome needed a true leader, Marcus Aurelius made a fateful decision: he chose Maximus. Not as emperor, but as a steward who could restore power to the Senate and lead Rome into a new era of peace. This decision shattered Commodus, who had spent his entire life yearning for his father's approval. Feeling betrayed and overshadowed, Commodus allowed his anger to consume him. That night, he went to his father's chamber, and in a desperate act of jealousy, he murdered him, ensuring that no one could stand in his way. At dawn, Rome had a new ruler. As Commodus took the throne, he demanded loyalty from those around him. But Maximus, who had always served Rome and not its rulers, refused to kneel before a man he knew was unfit to lead. Realizing Maximus was a threat to his reign, Commodus ordered his execution. But that was not enough. He also sent his soldiers to slaughter Maximus' wife and child, ensuring that the general would have nothing left to return to. Maximus, wounded and betrayed, managed to escape his captors and rode for days, desperate to reach his family before it was too late. But when he arrived, the sight before him was more than he could bear. His home was in ruins, his wife and son murdered, their lifeless bodies hanging in the ashes. Overcome with grief, Maximus collapsed, his will to live slipping away. But death did not take him. Instead, he was captured by slave traders, stripped of his identity, and sold to a man named Proximo, a former gladiator who trained men to fight for the amusement of the Roman crowds. The once great general of Rome was now nothing more than a slave, forced to fight in brutal battles for survival. At first, Maximus had no desire to fight. He had lost everything, and survival meant nothing to him. But in the arena, he had no choice. If he did not fight, he would die. And so, he fought, not for glory, not for freedom, but for a reason to live. As the battles continued, Maximus proved himself to be more than just a skilled warrior. He was a born leader, a tactician, a man who could turn even the most desperate fight into victory. His legend grew, and soon, he became known as the Spaniard, a gladiator unlike any other. With each fight, he climbed the ranks, earning the love of the crowd. But for Maximus, there was only one goal: revenge. If he could rise to the top, he would be sent to Rome. And in Rome, he would find Commodus. Soon, the opportunity arrived. Commodus, desperate to win the love of the people, organized grand games in the Colosseum, bringing in the greatest warriors to entertain the masses. Among them was Maximus. When he stepped onto the sands of the Colosseum, he knew this was his moment. During a staged battle meant to glorify Rome's past victories, Maximus and his fellow gladiators were supposed to be defeated. But Maximus, unwilling to play a part in Commodus' spectacle, led his men to a real victory, shocking the audience. The cheers of the crowd echoed through the arena, and Commodus, intrigued by the mysterious warrior, descended onto the sands to meet him. As Commodus stood before him, Maximus removed his helmet and spoke words that sent a shiver through the emperor's spine. "My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the north, general of the Felix legions, loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Father to a murdered son. Husband to a murdered wife. And I will have my vengeance, in this life or the next." For the first time, Commodus felt fear. He had believed Maximus was dead, but now, here he was, standing before him, stronger than ever, beloved by the people. But Commodus, unable to execute him publicly, had to play the game carefully. He allowed Maximus to continue fighting, hoping that the brutality of the arena would eventually kill him. But Maximus was unbreakable. With every battle, he grew stronger. He gained allies, including Lucilla, Commodus' own sister, who once loved Maximus and knew her brother's cruelty had to end. Secretly, she worked with Maximus and the Senate, planning to overthrow Commodus and restore Rome to its people. As their plan unfolded, Commodus grew increasingly paranoid. He knew he was losing control. And so, in a final desperate act, he challenged Maximus to a duel, hoping to kill him in front of the entire empire and prove his dominance once and for all. But being the coward he was, he ensured the fight would not be fair. Before the battle began, he secretly stabbed Maximus, weakening him. Bleeding, exhausted, but fueled by the fire of vengeance, Maximus stepped onto the sands of the Colosseum for one final fight. Commodus, armed and confident, believed he had already won. But Maximus, despite his wound, fought with the strength of a man who had already accepted his fate. With the weight of his fallen family, his lost honor, and the love of the people behind him, he overpowered Commodus, taking the emperor's own dagger and driving it into his heart. The tyrant fell, lifeless. The Colosseum erupted in silence. Rome had witnessed the fall of its corrupt ruler, and in that moment, Maximus had achieved his vengeance. But his journey had taken everything from him. His wounds were too deep. As he collapsed onto the sands, his vision blurred, and in the distance, he saw them, his wife and son, waiting for him in the golden fields of Elysium. His mission was complete. With his final breath, he ordered that Rome be restored to the people. He had no desire for power, no need for a throne. He had fought only for justice. And with that, he let go, finally free. As the sun set over Rome, the warrior who had once been a general, then a slave, then a gladiator, was finally at peace. His name would never be forgotten. His legend would live on. And so, the man who lost everything, in the end, found his way home.